Hey Tom, it's time for a video essay. Rogue One is a tortured film with awful characters and the type of plot that is a special needs student with a box of crayons retarded. This is Galen Erso. This man has made it his life work to build a defective reactor module into the Death Star. Now all he has to do is tell the rebels that he's done this. To do this, he gives a message to a pilot to take to his old friend Saw Gerrera. Instead of detailing how to make use of this vulnerability, Galen merely tells his friend that there is a vulnerability and that the plans that you would need in order to figure out how to use this vulnerability are located on a secure planet. Galen has spent 15 years working out this plan and never thought once about implementation. Galen could have just sent a detailed brief explaining everything that the rebels would need to do. Maybe something that looked like this.
All one-man fighter should be able to penetrate.
But Galen is a moron. This is Lyra Erso. She commits suicide by pulling out a gun and pointing it at several heavily armed men. I don't know. What did you think was going to happen? Lyra Erso is a moron. This is Orson Krennic. This man has made it his life work to construct a Death Star. The man he trusts to do this work doesn't want to. Krennic kills Galen's wife, fails to capture his daughter. Krennic has absolutely no leverage to force Galen to work. Krennic really shouldn't trust Galen because he's given him every reason to hate him. Yet he does somehow, and Galen, who is introduced as
You're an inspired scientist, but you're a terrible liar.
He manages to lie about his shoddy engineering for 15 years. Krennic doesn't even need Galen to work for him.
It would be a matter of time before Krennic realized he no longer needed me to complete the project.
Yet he forces him to work on the Death Star, resulting in Krennic is a moron. This is Bodhi Rook. He's a pilot who tells random strangers that he's defecting and carrying a secret message from Galen Erso.
He's telling people they're making a weapon.
As a result, both the rebels and the Imperials are chasing after him. Now, luckily for Galen Erso, the Imperials don't learn of his involvement with the pilot, because if the Imperials found out he was leaking secrets, they would kill him. Unfortunately for Galen Erso, the rebels learn of his involvement and they want to kill him. Bodhi is also unable to convince Saw that he's telling the truth. Saw still thinks it's a trap, even after Saw uses the slugs and sees the message. It's almost as if Bodhi was a bad person to trust to carry the secret message. Maybe that's just because Bodhi is stupid enough to risk his life delivering the message that the plans for the Death Star are in another castle. Bodhi doesn't even know what the message he's delivering is about. Bodhi is a moron. This is Saw Gerrera, the one person who Galen Erso trusts the most. He is also the least trustworthy character in this movie, and this movie is filled with spies and liars. For starters, he tortures the guy who Galen sends to him, and then still doesn't believe him, even after he uses the weird truth-seeking tentacles monster on him. He also has no way to act on this intel. He's an extremist who's broken away from the rebels. Galen trusted Saw to take care of his daughter, but Saw dumped her when she was 16. When she shows back up again, he doesn't trust her and thinks she's trying to set him up. When the Death Star destroys the city, he could have made it off the planet, but he decides not to because
I will run no longer.
That's right, Saw is a moron. This is Cassian Andor. He's a cold-blooded killer.
We'll be alright.
Except when he is not. It would be nice to know why Cassian changes his mind here. I mean, he's got a good reason after learning from Jyn that Galen has built in this weakness and actually wants to help the rebels. But still he goes up there and points his gun at him.
I had every chance to pull the trigger. But did I?
Okay, why? Cassian had orders which he disobeyed. But when he tells Jyn that he's disobeyed orders, she says,
Orders? When you know they're wrong? You might as well be a stormtrooper.
That's right. Jyn accuses Cassian of just following orders like a stormtrooper, and instead of smacking that bitch over the head and saying, bitch, what did I just tell you? He defends the orders he just disobeyed, telling Jyn,
We don't all have the luxury of deciding when and where we want to care about something.
right after that, like the next scene, he's breaking his orders to go on a suicide mission where he dies. Because even Cassian Andor is a moron. This is Mon Mothma and General Draven, leaders of rebellion. Mon Mothma tells Jyn that she wants to find Saw Gerrera so she can locate Jyn's father for testimony to the Senate. But what she and General Draven really want is to find and kill Jyn's father. All they know about him is that he's responsible for working on a superweapon and that he wants to help the rebellion by passing a message through a defecting Imperial, so they decide to kill him. After they accomplish this, they are somehow unable to convince the rest of the council that Jin is telling the truth, and the rebels decide to surrender. Almost as if it would have been worth it to keep Galen Erso alive. As a result, instead of sending a real force to take on the plans, they send these chucklefucks, and everyone dies as a result. But again, all this happens because Mon Mothma and General Draven are fucking morons. This is Grand Moff Tarkin. He's trying to destroy the rebels who he thinks don't stand a chance against his Death Star. Better blow up my own fucking base. Grand Moff Tarkin is a moron. And finally, Jyn Erso. A girl just trying to get out of trouble. Maybe find her father. Her mother was killed by the Imperials, but apparently she knows that bitch had it coming because she doesn't seem to hold that much animosity towards the Imperials.
And to see the Imperial flag reign across the galaxy.
It's not a problem if you don't look up.
Her father was killed by the rebels, but she doesn't seem to hold that much animosity towards them either.
Rebellions are built on hope.
But she gets angry at Cassian because he is the only one in this movie who decided to not kill one of her family members. In the third act, Krennic is trying to find out if there are any problems with the Death Star. Luckily for him, Jyn decides to tell him exactly what her father did while he's pointing a gun at her.
My father's revenge. He built a flaw in the Death Star. He put a fuse in the middle of your machine, and I've just told the entire galaxy how to light it.
It's almost like she wants Krennic to shoot her and fix the Death Star. Cassian wounds Krennic, and then luckily for Jyn, Grand Moff Tarkin, for no fucking reason, destroys the base, preventing Krennic from informing the Moff that there's a weakness to the Death Star. Finally, Jyn dies on a suicide mission for an organization that killed her father and didn't even believe in her enough to support her. That's right. Jyn is also a moron. That's because all of Rogue One is a terribly put together story masked by having talented actors, a good score, and a third act that is an hour-long action scene that lets you forget all the stupidest fuck setup that happened before it.